Hello, and welcome to Hard Conversations. This is a podcast about male sexuality, intimacy, and sex positivity, where we unpack the taboo topic of erectile issues in a safe, non-judgmental space. And now, here's your host, sex therapist, Timothy Norton.
Hello, and welcome to Hard Conversations. I'm really excited about my next guest. Ela Darling is an adult film actress and co-founder of virtual reality company VrTube.xx. She grew up in Texas, has a bachelor's degree in forensic psychology from the University of Texas in Dallas, and a master's in library and information science from the University of Illinois, which she earned by the age of 21. She starred in over 100 films and won the 2018 XBiz Award for Crossover Star of the Year. You can see her 2017 TED Talk, Dare to Start Over, where she talks about the intersectionality between porn and virtual reality technology. Hello, Ela.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. This is really exciting. We had one porn performer on my second to last episode, a gay male performer who had some insight. His name is Alan Silver.
Okay, cool.
Kind of like a dad. Is his genre type. And so my first female porn actress, really excited about your insight into male erectile issues on and off porn sets.
Awesome.
So what do you know that will cure erectile issues for all men? Tell me in 2 minutes. Thanks.
I've got this magical potion I make from snake oil. I charge a very, very reasonable fee for it, and it'll cure all of your ails, frankly.
Perfect.
So,
What's your website?
Damn it. Not good at ad-libbing my cons. I don't really have a website so much as a spot in this alley. It's a very nice one, though. And
okay. All right, good. So we'll put that alley location on the website after this interview. So seriously, though, has that ever come up on a porn set?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a porn set is a pretty rough environment to perform in, and especially for men. You know, as a female performer, there's a lot that I can fake, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm not aroused, there are ways that I can accommodate whatever's going on to make it work. But if you're someone with a penis, it's really hard to pretend you have an erection.
Yeah.
You know, so it's certainly come up. There are different ways that people handle it. Sometimes they take pills. Sometimes they use injections. Sometimes it just doesn't work out and you have to call it. I've had instances where it just, it was a tough day. It's very hot. You're surrounded by people on a porn set. So you've got people behind the camera. There are people everywhere. Most of them don't really care. Like, it's not exciting for them. They're just working and they want to go home. So you've got this added pressure of, everybody sort of depending on you right now. And that can get into someone's head pretty easily. If you're not attracted to your scene mate, or if your scene mate isn't attracted to you and it's hard to foster chemistry, that can, that can lead to some erectile dysfunction issues. There's a lot of things that would put someone in that position. And it happens sometimes.
Yeah. Most
performers that I know have a plan in place or have, something in their back pocket to deal with it when it comes up so that they can make it through the scene, because at the end of the day, we all want to just work and get paid and go home. Mm-hmm. I've had really only one instance where it turned out to be really, really sort of really challenging. But it was because the person was drinking. They brought a bottle of vodka and just started drinking on set, which is something that almost never happens. Mm-hmm. And this was sort of a not your typical porn set. And so when we finally got to the sex part, he just could not perform. And I did my best to sort of get him to a place where he could. And I think eventually we managed, but it was a very challenging day. It added, extra time to the day, and that made it even more stressful for him to get into the right headspace. He shouldn't have been drinking on set. It's a job. That's just not what you're really supposed to do. But we dealt with it.
Mm-hmm. Even people in adult film can't drink on the job.
Yeah. This guy was new, and I think he just thought that porn was a party, and it was not a good day.
Well, that's kind of disappointing here, though, that it's not just a party. But it's work. There's sets. There's people. There's sound men. And they're not that interested in it, and that is a lot of pressure to perform. You called it a rough environment.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough. It can be a stressful environment. It's not rough in that it's unsafe. It's just rough in that the nature of the work you're doing is very physical, and the pressure to perform and to deliver a good scene and deliver a good performance, and create something that you're proud of, that your fans are going to enjoy, that will take you a little bit farther in your career. I mean, it's just a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot to be thinking about. And was that, you said you sometimes call it, was that kind of like the only time that happened, or?
Yeah, it's not something that happens very often in my experience, and I'm not a director, so I couldn't tell you how common that is, because I'm not the one who has to call those shots.
Yeah.
I really haven't seen many instances where that's been the case.
Yeah.
Again, most guys who anticipate that might happen bring a pill or a syringe or whatever, and they handle it themselves, and their penis is their business. So
they're good to go.
Yeah.
And their penis is their business.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to come to you and say, "Can you help me?"
Oh no, they do, and we do, and I'll do the best I can. But I'm saying, however they choose to handle it, whether they want to take a pill or they want to use an injection or whatever, I don't feel like it's really my place to have an opinion on. People do have opinions on whether that's something that people should be doing, whether that's healthy, whether that's, a good practice to put into place or a good expectation. But I just don't think I'm really the right person to comment on that, since it's not my penis.
Right. It's not yours. Do with your penis what you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get a sense of what emotionally is going on for the guy in those situations?
It's not really a scenario where there's a lot of disclosure, especially in a situation like that. The instances where I've come across that, we didn't know each other. We met that day. Frequently we didn't really click. And so we don't really have the relationship dynamic where they're going to, emotionally disclose their state to me. But I can tell that they are feeling very distressed. They're very anxious. They're embarrassed. They're feeling concerned on a professional level because they're worried that failure to perform on set means that they might not get hired again by that company. They don't want people, they don't want another performer in the room to talk about it. They don't want to get a reputation for not being able to do the job that they're hired to do. So I think there's a lot of distress. There's a little bit of humiliation. There's some embarrassment. And, the best thing I can think to do is just sit with them, help whatever way I can physically. I mean, some people are opposed to that. There are some performers who really do not want to engage sexually off camera because that's just not the job that they're there to do. Personally, it doesn't usually bother me as long as they're respectful, as long as we foster, a good communication together. And so I'll do the best I can, both physically and sort of just in a emotionally supportive capacity, to help bring them back to a place where they can sort of move past it if they can. Yeah.
And in that supportive capacity, do you feel like you're soothing like this performance anxiety? Like you said, they've got a lot at stake here. Or are you more trying to turn them on?
For me, it really, I have to read the situation. If they appear to be very distressed and very upset and very, up in their head about something, then I'll try to sort of soothe them and tell them, it's okay. Just we can take our time. This is what we're here to do today. We can all take, like, everybody is going to be happy to go have a smoke break, go have a bottle of water or whatever. Just, focus on you. It's okay. That's sort of the approach that I take with them if that's the kind of talk that we're going to have. If it's a sex thing, I'll maybe sexy. I don't know. It's, again, I don't necessarily know them that well, so I don't know what it is that is going to turn them on. And having that conversation in that moment is something that just doesn't really happen. I kind of have to guess. I'll physically stimulate them. However, usually I'll just go down on them and just see if we can get through there.
Yeah, and that'll help. I like your point about smoke break and maybe get a bottle of water. Yeah. Because that could apply to the listeners out there who aren't on porn sets and trying to have sex in bedrooms. And a lot of the times I think what happens is guys will really just call it right there without that smoke break option, and then let's go have a bottle of water. So that's really nice advice. That's really like a nice way of looking at it. Like, take it easy for a minute.
Yeah. In a porn scenario, I think obviously it's very, very different from an experience you would have personally at home with your partner. And I've experienced that in a few cases too, which we'll get to. But when we're on set, it's just, there is a little bit more pressure because the sex is something that we're being paid to do and have right now. You don't have the same flexibility as you would if you were at home with a partner. We can have sex right now, or we could go and have a snack, or we could, watch some dorky YouTube videos and see if we can sort of revisit this place in a few minutes or in an hour. It's much more pressing in terms of time on set. Whereas, in my personal life, I've had experiences like that with guys, and it's just, I think taking a step back and taking the focus off of having sex right now and, redirecting our energies to something else so that the pressure is off is something that can really help. Frequently just deciding, okay, we're just not going to do this right now. We'll maybe do it on another day. Maybe we'll see how we're feeling later. And in those cases, I found that when we make that choice and when we mentally disengage from that experience, then a pressure is lifted off of them. And then, like, there's one case I remember, one experience I had where as soon as the script changed to, okay, let's just go hang out. We'll hang out another time. Then the boner came. And then it was just like, there it is. Yeah. Hello, there we are.
Right.
Because there was a lot of mental pressure, and we just needed to relieve that pressure so he could get back into a space where an erection was going to happen.
Right. And I hear that time and time again in my practice. The way we explain it is until that moment, your body was basically in a fight or flight state, and it was probably ready to flee.
Yeah.
And your words, you saying, hey, we don't even have to do it today. Take it completely off of the table. Now body can leave flight state. Now body can relax. Blood can start flowing wherever it needs to flow. And they're relaxed. And hey, when we're not in a fight or flight state, there's blood for the penis.
Yeah.
Great.
The instances where I recall being with a partner who was experiencing erectile dysfunction were almost always situations that were especially high pressure. So they were very intimidated because it was our first time together, and they're intimidated by the fact that I'm a porn star and that I have seen a lot of penises. And so they sort of get hung up on that, or they're afraid that they won't perform to the standards that I'm used to, or they're put off because I'm someone who they consider to be out of their league in some way, which is, I think, silly. But
it sounds like you go in there and you engage them. You're finding out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm here and I'm ready to have sex with you, like, you you're through the door. Like, you're good. You got it. You got in. Or having like a threesome with someone where there's this other person who isn't present in your day-to-day life. So it's sort of a kind of now or never thing, or a now, or if we don't do it now, then we might lose the opportunity altogether. And then the whole situation is incredibly arousing. It's something that he was very, very enthusiastic about, but because there was so much else on deck at that point, it happened. And then again, we just de-escalated. We said, hey, you know what? This third person that we're interested in having sex with is also just a really cool person. So we could just hang. We could just, chill out a little bit. And then again, it happened.
You're good at this.
Thank you. I try.
You might have to open this little shop in the alley, and you might not really sell anything. You'll just have to give an elaborate description of what to say as you take this snake oil. And so, yeah, speak to some of the partners of people out there. Like, did you notice maybe as you matured in relationships, I think we all learn how to talk to our partners better with time, or maybe you were just good at it. Maybe you just had that kind of style of communication. But do you notice, like, it's a part of your delivery in the way that you communicate that message to the guy. Like, no, really, we can chill for a minute. Like,
so speaking to partners who experience this, it's definitely something that I've grown into and matured into, because when I was younger, I was not good at handling a situation like that because I completely internalized it. And especially when I was younger, immediately I thought, oh, this is about me. Am I not pretty enough? Am I not sexy enough? Are you not attracted to me? Is it something like, what am I doing wrong? What don't you like about me? And I realized as I got older and I had more sex and I met more people, it's not about me at all. It's entirely about them. And directing the conversation to something, well, what am I doing wrong? Am I not pretty enough? Do you not like me? Do you not think I'm attractive? That's such a boner killer in the first place. Like, confidence is important. Confidence is key. Understanding that this is about your partner's body. This is about them. This is about their headspace. And it's not about you at all. You're not the one causing this, but you can help get them through it if you try and if you choose to. But I think first and foremost, you have to understand that it just happens. It happens sometimes, and it's not a reflection on you. So coming to terms with that and realizing that is something that took some time to learn. Similarly, if I would be with a partner and they just wouldn't ejaculate, we would have sex and then they just wouldn't come. For a while when I was younger, I took that so personally. And then, I don't know, maybe being a sex worker made me jaded, or maybe I just stopped giving a shit about men that much. It's like, it's not a destination. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's an experience. It's a journey. At the end of that journey, maybe you reach a finish line where there's a climax. Maybe you don't. What's important is that you enjoyed yourselves along the way. So if I had a good time and I didn't come, I'm still cool with that. And when I realized that about myself, that I can have fun engaging sexually, if we don't have penetrative sex, but we have fun in other ways and we have sexy time and we feel sexy and we enjoy each other's company and we feel good, even if we don't feel orgasmic, that's still a really great experience to share with a partner. And it's okay if that's where it ends. Like, that can be enough also. And so finding ways for me to enjoy an experience and walk away satisfied regardless of the outcome was something that I found very helpful.
I feel like this could be your next TED Talk. You're very eloquent about this. I actually find it kind of moving.
Thank you.
How much I'm imagining guys listening to this, and it's one thing to hear from me in that seat, paying for me to say it, and it's another thing with your experience and being able to speak so confidently, matter-of-factly about this. I think that it's a really good message to try to just help sink in. And so as you got older and it was less about you, then did you notice other things were occurring to you that you could say in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, once I stopped interpreting it as a personal reflection and I switched to just understanding that this is just their body, their experience, a thing that they're dealing with right now, and I identified that a very strong component that was contributing to the experience was emotional, that they were feeling emotional in some way, whether they were scared or intimidated or nervous. And that when I reacted emotionally by being upset, by, blaming myself, by being hurt, by being, performatively upset about it, that was always something that led to further failure. So removing the emotional component, or at least neutralizing it, and finding the highs or the lows in myself and finding ways to sort of like to center myself and not internalize it, not interpret it as something that is about my personal value or my value as a sex partner, and not interpret their experience as a personal failure to them or a personal failure on their part or their just lack of desire. When I took that away, then all I was left with was, okay, well, these are the things that are standing in the way of the erection. Let's address those. if it's emotional, which in my experience, it usually was, let's just calm those emotions. Let's redirect our energies and then we can come back to it, or we don't. And that's also okay.
Calming the emotions. How do you calm a guy's emotions?
So frequently,
is that too vague?
No.
Okay.
Frequently men are not forthcoming about their feelings. And especially in a situation like that, they're feeling very vulnerable. And so to discuss their emotions in the moment just brings them to an even more vulnerable place. So it can be very hard to get them to open up about those things. So I sort of anticipate what they might be feeling, and I try to find the words to soothe those ideas without planting those ideas in their head. So I don't want to say something like, it's not that, like, I don't think you're any less of a man because you don't have an erection right now. Because then what I'm saying is, that might be a thing that you should think about, that this, for some people, would make you less of a man in their eyes, I try very hard not to state what I think they might be thinking, and just to sort of accommodate them where they are. So I am being very vague, and I'm trying to be more specific.
That's perfect, because you're not making them sit there and say, like, I'm scared. You're not trying to pull that out of them.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to do, honestly, because we're obviously not having sex in the moment and everything, but just trying to get them to engage with that. But in that moment, you're guessing, or you're intuiting, okay, what's going on, and maybe what do I like to hear, what do most men like to hear when they're having this kind of a fear, and so you just kind of give them that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. If I think that they're feeling like they're not going to satisfy me in any way, I can just say, you know what? Let's just not do sex. Let's do other things. Let's make out. Let's do hand stuff. Let's do other stuff. Like finger bang me or something. Like, we can still have fun. I'm still going to have fun. You're going to have fun doing it, because we're going to enjoy each other's company. And there's, an inclination that you want to make the other person come. And if you're not going to do it with your penis, then how do you do it? Well, here's how you can do it. If that's the thing, then we can still reach that desired end without an erection in the picture. And once we just decide, you know what, we're just not going to do that thing, then in my experience, it's been much more likely that an erection ends up coming, because again, the pressure is off.
Okay. And you said that before, but now you're saying that with full recognition that they're having this emotional experience going on, and you're kind of juggling those two things. So he's having this emotion, commenting on it directly will just kind of make it more intense. Right. So you're still dealing with it, but just indirectly.
Yeah, exactly. If I think that they're feeling a sense of failure in some way, I might compliment other things that they do. Like, you're an amazing kisser, or I love it when you do this thing. Like, that's really hot. That's so sexy. I think you're a really awesome and really sexy person. And the fact that you don't have an erection right now doesn't change that. And I might say that explicitly. I might not. But conveying to them that you still find them acceptable, attractive, worthy of your affection, worthy of your time, you still consider them to be a worthy partner, I think can help them move past it.
That's great. As you were saying that, I started to feel guilty. This is a podcast for men, or for people with penises and erectile issues. And you had commented earlier that if you're on a porn set and you're having essentially lubrication issues or issues being turned on, it's more subtle, and there are things that you can do. I assume you can add lubricant.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. I haven't had an episode for the women out there who are struggling with this, or we could have a whole podcast just dedicated to that.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, if I'm not aroused and I'm not really into it, I'll take some time to myself. I'll masturbate. I'll use some lube. I find that certain breathing exercises can help sort of loosen things up a little bit, so it's not like painful. Especially in porn, you tend to work with fairly big penises. So if you're not aroused, and it can hurt sometimes. So just finding ways to sort of get into a place where I don't have to like have an orgasm. I can fake my orgasms, but at least physically where it's a comfortable experience. That's sort of what I go for. And usually I can find something either in my brain or in my memory or just physical stimulation to at least bring me to a point where I'm having an okay time, you know?
What's your breathing exercise?
See, I don't really know how to describe it.
Okay.
It's just when I feel like it's just the person I'm having sex with is too much or a little too big, or they're maybe going a little deeper than I find comfortable, I just sort of relax, and I'll take deep breaths and sort of just rhythmically, I don't know. Breathing, it's just breathe. It's
Right.
inhalation and then exhalation, but
Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it. It's not something I really studied. It's just something that I found helps for me. It's just taking some deep breaths and relaxing my vaginal muscles and just kind of breathing through it. And also just asking them to sort of go slowly and sort of pace themselves. And that also helps.
Okay. And you can do that on a porn set.
On a porn set, I had it described to me as the Heisman, where you use your hand that's sort of not facing the camera and you kind of like tap them. And that's sort of a signal that, you know, slow down or pull back or, you know, ease into it a little bit more. So you've got kind of this backhand sort of, it's
tap move.
Yeah. And I guess it's supposed to look like the Heisman Trophy. It was one porn director who said it, so I don't know that that's necessarily common parlance, but I thought it was funny and it helps. Like, I'll talk to them ahead of time, or we'll cut or we'll take a break or something, and I'll just be like, hey, you know, just give me a little time to sort of work up to the full thing.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So you're doing other things.
Yes.
Besides porn. Tell me more about the Oculus Rift, or what do you have going on with your app? Is it a channel? Is it a website?
There's a couple of things.
Okay.
So I was just hired as the chief marketing officer of a new adult VR headset company called PVR. It's pvr.fun. And they have a new headset called the Iris. And it's this really beautiful, lightweight headset. It connects to their site. So you, when you buy it, you have a free subscription for a certain period of time. And you can buy VR videos through the website, and you pair your device with your account. So you can just send them to the site, or send them to your headset. And if the headset is connected to Wi-Fi, it'll just automatically download. So you can watch it very easily. It's very streamlined. And it's just a really cool product. I met the people who run the company a couple months ago, and I tried it out, and I was actually really impressed by it. And so they were interested in having me on their team, and I liked it. So now I work with them, and it's really cool. I'm really excited about it. So if you're someone who enjoys VR porn, it's a really great headset to have as sort of your own personal, private adult VR experience. I use VR a lot. I have several VR headsets, and a lot of the time I have people over and I want to show them stuff in my Rift or my Vive or whatever. And the last thing I want is to have like lube on the headset or hand a mobile headset to a family member that, you know, and I've used this headset when I was jerking off, and who knows what kind of humors might be left on. There's just a lot that runs through your head where it's like, you know, maybe having a private headset for your private moments is a good choice. And also, if I'm watching VR porn on my computer and then someone sees it and they're like, oh, an Oculus Rift, let's try this out, and they put it on, then they're immersed in a porn experience. That can be very jarring for them, and it can lead to a very uncomfortable situation, a very uncomfortable conversation. So I think it's a really great headset. It's a really great product. It's really nice if you are interested in VR porn, but you're not very tech savvy. It's a very simple process. So that is one of the things that I'm doing now. I'm representing this company. We also make a VR camera for VR production, which is simple and cool and really high quality. And then I'm also starting a new non-adult VR app that will be a live broadcasting that I sort of like to think of it as a live VR podcast almost, where you can be present in the room with the broadcaster. It's 3D 360. You can look all of the way around you and you see the studio that they're in. There are markers on the wall. They're AR markers. So when you look at these markers, they're overlaid with a video or an image or a link. They also control little Arduino robots that I build that are placed around the different rooms that you can engage in. So there's like an upvote meter. So if there's two people in a broadcast having a debate, you can sort of thumbs up or thumbs down or vote for one who you think is winning the debate over the other. And then another style of broadcast is basically I built a car. I built a little Arduino car that you can drive around my living room. And you can give my dog treats in virtual reality from a dog treat dispenser I made. And there are markers all over the walls. So once we launch, we're gonna put in different, like maybe weekly new content that you can sort of drive around and see. Maybe an ongoing narrative, maybe something that gives you like a badge for, checking out the markers every week. And it's kind of a proof of concept. Eventually, I'd love to have it set up so that there's a cool VR card that you can drive around the creative office of your favorite cartoonist or artist or something like that. I think there's a lot of applications. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. So
Awesome.
I don't have a launch date yet, but I'm really psyched about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the cool things I'm doing. I'm hosting the red carpet at the Pornhub Awards in September in a couple weeks. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. I mean, the reason or how I found you was I had no idea how to pick someone. Was you come up when you Google porn stars who were smarty pants in like a few different searches, and your master's degree in library and information science. You did work at a library for a while, or you? Where was that?
I've worked at a few. I was the associate director of a library just outside of Boston, right after grad school. And that was around the time that I started dipping my toes in the adult industry. And so once I had a few like fetish shoots under my belt, I realized that if I move to Los Angeles, I can pursue this and make this a full-time job. And if I want to do that, it's kind of, I need to do it sooner rather than later. And it was a situation where I knew my degree wasn't going anywhere, and librarians tend to be pretty cool about a lot of things. So I felt like if it didn't work out, I could probably still find work in a library afterwards. And so I just did that. I finished up my year at the library, and then I said goodbye, and I moved to LA, and I started doing lesbian porn, and that was almost 9 years ago.
Wow. And would you say you're pulling away from porn, or because you are mixing, or you're getting involved in other things,
right?
But
yeah, I am. I wouldn't say that I'm retired yet, because I think that it's very unlucky to say that.
Okay.
But I don't really focus on performing anymore. I'm really more focused on behind the scenes corporate stuff. Technological innovation and sex tech, and also, our new company, the new company that I'm starting with my business partner, is completely outside of the adult realm. And eventually, as I move forward with that, I'll probably eventually leave the adult space behind. And so it's sort of a slow transition. So I worked for 2 years, a little over 2 years, as a content manager at a webcam company, the VR content manager, and I worked in training models on VR and empowering other performers to differentiate themselves with virtual reality. And yeah, I loved performing when I did it, but I just am not really in the headspace anymore. And yeah.
And you love the VR.
I love VR.
You do.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
You said you have a few sets around the house.
I have so many headsets.
You do.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't even count how many headsets are in my house right now.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're developers, so.
And so before you completely leave, I want to collaborate on something. So I think, or whoever would do it, but what you said in like the first 20 minutes of this interview combined with like someone, I don't know where I would even want them to be, but could combine with some kind of Oculus Rift or VR technology. I think that could be really cool. I think that could be really helpful just to like get those soothing messages from an actress, from somebody who really had like a nice tone and delivery and just like kind of a therapy.
Yeah. That would be very, very achievable. It would really just be a matter of shooting a VR video that is like VR porn, except without the sex aspect necessarily. I mean, that's, yeah.
Anyone else out there listening, take the idea. I'm probably not ever going to follow through on it. I relinquish all rights to it. I like seeing therapists aren't very good about utilizing the latest technology and being on top of the game, especially when compared to porn, right? Porn's always at the cutting edge of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen, there's explicit educational videos, but I haven't really seen anything that touched on the psychology of it, which is pretty cool. Because this is a problem affecting a lot of people.
I think something like that would be best done as a collaboration with a professional like yourself who can be present to sort of guide the discussion in the right direction and to make sure that it's being delivered in a way that is still therapeutically effective and safe and helpful. So you should totally do it.
Yeah. Add it to the list. Cool. So where are you headed next with all of this?
So right now, with PVR, I'm seeking VR content creators in the adult space who are interested in doing a partnership with us to license their content and do a rev share on getting their videos out to our consumer base, because again, it's a really cool headset and I want to get as many producers and creators involved and on our site so that people can access their content. So that's something I'm really focused on. I'm going to Prague in a few weeks to make some more connections with people and just really build up that platform because I really love it. And then with, my own kind of interests, just really, really, really excited about this new live broadcast thing that I'm making.
Oh, cool.
I've been building little Dorky Arduino robots that you can play with in the VR experience. So
building what?
Like, do you know what an Arduino is?
I do not.
It's a microcontroller. So it's a little board that you can write code and upload it to this little board, and it controls whatever kind of robotic thing that you're making with it. So for example, the dog treat dispenser I made has an Arduino in it and a stepper motor. So I wrote code that would tell the stepper motor to move this many steps whenever a certain command was received. And so it'll basically move, it'll rotate, and then a dog treat will fall out the bottom of the little dispenser because it's rotated in such a way that it's now available. So an Arduino is just something that you can connect other things to. You can connect LEDs to it. You can connect servos or motors or any number of things, and it will control those things. So I've been learning C++ for Arduino.
Okay.
And I've been doing that. I also learned Python to network with our VR application. And so I'm going to go home and I'm going to work on optimizing some code for a drawing mechanism that I'm making.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but that is in computer programming languages.
Yes.
It's not like you can, at this point, say, walk 5 meters and drop the treat. You have to really program that.
Yeah.
Okay. Technology. One thing, when I was looking you up and your bio, teledildonics, you had a quote somewhere saying that something about patents slowing that industry down. Do you have much experience with teledildonics at this point? Like it seems kind of in its infancy and kind of stuck there right now.
Yeah, I've know some companies that are doing some really great stuff. Kiru is one that's really ahead of the game on that one. It's so strange. On my Wikipedia page, I have nothing to do with it. I've never touched it. I don't even know how it came to be. But that's one of the things that is mentioned there, and it's like,
don't know who said it.
I'm sure I said that. I just don't really talk that much about that specific field. It's certainly not a hill I would die on. But but regardless, that patent that I referenced actually just expired in the past, maybe the past week or two.
Good.
So yeah, that's been a pretty big thing in some of the tech spaces, that there's now a lot of opportunity to innovate in that space. And I think that there's a lot of good that can be done for people. So teledildonics is basically a device that offers sexual stimulation across space. So let's say you have a stroker that you put on your penis. It could be connected to a porn video you're watching, so the movement on that stroker replicates the movement on video. Or another application could be, let's say I have a dildo device and you have a stroker device. Whatever I do to that dildo would be reciprocated in your stroker device. So it's stimulation across space using a device, basically. I think that's a good way of describing it. So if you don't know what it is now, you know. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I think there's a lot of potential for devices that could give people a sense of sexual engagement and satisfaction when they wouldn't otherwise have it.
And have you seen anybody pull off that marriage between a VR porn and a teledildonic device?
Yeah, that's something that Kiru does a lot of. I haven't been working in pre-produced or pre-recorded VR porn for a very long time. I switched to working in live streaming VR about 3 years ago. So there's been a lot of growth there that I just haven't necessarily kept up with because it wasn't relevant to what I was working on. But that is definitely something that has been done, that is being done, that people are exploring. There are a couple of other companies. I think Lovents is one of them that when I met them a couple of years ago, that was something they were working on. And so it's definitely available.
Is that going to be all sex at some point?
What do you mean?
VR teledildonics across space.
Oh, is that going to be all of the sex?
Yeah, or is that going to be, are we
No.
just really going in that direction?
No. People, oh my gosh, people love to clutch their pearls about this, about how nobody's going to have sex anymore.
Right.
That's not true. People are going to have this as one of the things that they enjoy, and maybe some people will just decide, wow, I don't need to try to date. I don't need to try to court anyone. I don't need to do that. And that's cool. Like, that's their choice. If they don't want to go and find someone to have sex with, like, why is that anyone else's business? But no, I think people are still going to want to have sex and want to procreate and want to have an experience with someone who could reject them, because that risk being present is arousing by itself.
Okay. So no Armageddon here, no sexual.
Probably not.
Darn it. Well, okay. Any other messages for the guys out there having hard conversations or not having hard conversations? Or you're basically saying don't have the hard conversation, have the light conversation, and keep it playful and keep it mellow and take all the pressure out of the room when you're.
Yeah. The things that I covered, the experiences that I'm covering, obviously that doesn't address every situation. There are plenty of reasons why you might have erectile dysfunction. It's not because you're nervous or in your head about it. It could be
absolutely.
medication. It could be any number of things. But whatever it is, it's okay. It happens to everyone. You don't owe anybody sex. You don't owe anybody your body or an intimate experience if you're not ready for it, or if it's just not even if you really want to have sex, you're just not there. That's okay. You're allowed to not have sex just as anyone else is. This is part of your agency over your body, and you deserve that just as much as anyone else. So just remember that, and your personal value isn't tied to what your penis is doing. In any case, whether that's not a lot or whether that's a whole lot, like whether you're not having sex or whether you're having all of the sex, that doesn't really change how valuable you are. So it kind of goes in both directions.
All right. Well, you heard it from Ela. Your personal value is not tied to what your penis is doing. And I love that. Thank you. I think we'll end it right there. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks to the show's executive producer, Robin Morrison. Thanks to Kat Murphy, director of social media. Thanks to Team Scrub for the music. Thanks to the sound engineer, Ravi Carmen. Thanks to Brian Hui for naming the show. Thanks to Alex Pitts for the intro. Thanks to Arlene Asuncion for the logo. You can find this podcast at hardconversationspodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You can locate me on Twitter at TimNortonLCSW or on my website for my private practice, TimNortonTherapy.com. You can also email us at hardconversationspodcast@gmail.com or call into our hotline at 662-626-4276. That's 662-MAN-HARD. Thanks to all my friends and family for brainstorming this show with me. Shoutouts to the sex-positive community, including sex educators, sex therapists, sex coaches, other fellow sex podcasters, sex surrogates, academics, the sexual health medical community, sex workers, the tantric community, and everybody else involved with having hard conversations. Bye-bye.